Okay, so I saw this on Twitter a few days ago, and so icespice officially has announced her album Y2K will be dropping July 26th, and here is the official album art. Now, a lot of us on Twitter were basically like, what is this? It looks absolutely horrible, and so there was a lot about this album cover, right? I happened to stumble upon this on the timeline. A fellow lamb made an edit, and they made it way better, because why do you have the album title in the trash can? So, he moved it to the wall, he moved her name up in place of the subway thing, he made a few, little changes, and just made it a lot better in my opinion. And then what does she do? Try to make fun of the guy. Talking about you thought you made this better too, Delulu. Like, he's trying to help you in your horrible album cover, and you try to insult him. And then he responded back to it using one of her lyrics, and he absolutely ate. I feel like she handled the situation quite poorly, actually. She should have said, you know what? You made a better album art than me. Everybody likes it more. He literally ratioed her and got more engagement than her original tweet, and people agree with him that this looks way better. So you should have just gave him original credits, paid him for that, and then made this your album cover. And this is reinforcing my point on why icespice is not going to have longevity, because I made a whole video about it. I'll link it below and also link it at the end. And one of the points I made was that she cannot accept constructive criticism, and she's always arguing with people on the internet all day. And then boom, you just reinforce my point by posting this stupid thing and trying to argue with this person who is trying to help you. And so the funny thing about icespice's album art is she literally said that David LaChapelle shot this for free. And when I heard he shot this, I was just absolutely gobsmacked, because he had some very iconic photo shoots, if you know, you know. And so the fact that he did this, he needs to retire, number one. And then whenever she was like, he did it for free. Yeah, girl, we know. It looks cheap. It looks cheap. You're just out there on the street with some cheap editing and your ass out. That's all you did. And you think that's all people are going to look at and not the horrible album art? No, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. This looks cheap. It looks horrible, and I won't go up for it. I won't. And so she got dragged for this. She needs to get dragged harder, and I hope this album flops, because she just really irritated me. The situation reminded me of whenever Ariana Grande had The Left as her original album cover for her debut album, Yours Truly, and then she got bullied so hard she changed it to The Right. I'm glad that she did. The original album cover looks horrible. I hate the colors on it. It's just very cheap looking. And so she ended up changing that, and she even ended up changing the album title too, because it was going to be called Daydreaming after one of the songs on the album. But, she loves Mariah Carey. She got compared to her a lot at the beginning of her career, and the Lambs were like, absolutely not, because Mariah Carey has an album called Daydream. So, she switched that up, and so I'm thankful that she changed it, because the one on the left, eyesore. Rina Sawayama has an album called Hold the Girl, and so the one on the left was original, the one on the right is the new one. And so she just kind of subtly changed this, and I'm glad that she did, because I hated the one on the left. I don't remember what her reasoning was for it, but I just hate it, like, aesthetically, and the one on the right should have been the album cover from the beginning, so I'm glad she did. This is Beyonce's Renaissance, so we have the standard cover on the left and then the alternate cover on the right. I like the one on the right more. There's just a lot more details to it, and so if you bought like the alternate vinyl, you have it, which I do. So this whole conversation just really had me thinking about, what is the importance of album art? Does it matter to you if the album art is fantastic? Does it not matter as long as the music's good? Does it depend on your relationship to the artist? And all of those things. So, right here, I have compiled some of my favorite album art, and I made a whole video sharing some of my other favorites. I'll link that below as well. First up, we got Taylor Swift 1989. I mean, it's just simply iconic. This was the 80s synth pop. I love the Polaroid. I love the shirt. I love the lipstick she ate. Michael Jackson Thriller. I mean, absolutely iconic. Looks like $1 million. Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation 1814. I just love the hat that she's wearing and the whole costume and all that stuff. And it's just like very representative of what the album was going to be. I think that it was good for the time. I still like it now. SZA Control. This is a more modern one, but like all the computers back behind her and just the green aesthetics I love. Justin Timberlake Future Sex Love Sounds. I just think it's so cool with like the disco ball and like all that stuff. I love the font on this cover. It's always stuck out to me. Brandy Full Moon. I mean, this was released 2002. I feel like it was really good for the time. I think it still looks really fresh and clean now. And then last up, we got Mariah Carey Emancipation Mimi. So there's two covers. So first up, this is the original cover in the gold dress. And then the one next to it is the Ultra Platinum Edition cover. I always liked it better, like the dress better, like the pose better. But again, I mean, she looks like $1 million. Like, all these make me want to listen to an album, because you put so much quality into the album cover. And I feel like a lot of times whenever artists do that, it's representative of the quality of the music. Some other Mariah covers I really enjoyed. I absolutely love the Butterfly album cover, like the butterfly that was photoshopped on, and just like the color palettes. The hair is absolutely perfect, the outfit, the chain, like all the little details. I think that this is her best album cover, and it was just so good for that time, and I love the color palettes. And then Rainbow, this was 99. A lot of people don't go for Rainbow, but if you know one thing about me, I am a Rainbow apologist. And so I just love how vibrant that it is. I love the colors juxtaposed with that white background. It's just such a good album cover. I'm sorry she ate. And I really like this album a lot too. I feel like it's very representative, of it. The album is very much giving me summer, youth, fun, the beach, and, she did what she needed to do. Here's some album covers that I like these artists, but they're just not it. Like this Miley album, I still haven't listened to because number one, I heard bad things about it, and number two, this album cover, it just looks horrible. Kelly Clarkson, this is definitely one of her worst albums, and the album cover makes it even worse. Okay, so I technically haven't heard any of these albums, but this just came to my mind. Katy Perry, Teenage Dream, through Prism, through Witness. Now, I'm going to get to Teenage Dream eventually because everyone says it's such a great pop album, and I hear good things about Prism. Witness, I've never heard a good thing about this album. And the album cover is absolutely terrifying. Just the color palettes are horrible. The eye in the mouth, and I get it's called Witness, but in the hands covering the eyes, like, no, it's like one of the biggest flop eras of all time. So that, it's just not inviting, it's just not welcoming. I don't ever want to listen to Witness. I probably won't because I don't hear good things. But I'll check out the first two. But this is an example of just album art deterring people because it just looks creepy. Like, why would someone be like, oh, this needs to be my album art, and why would other people tell them to do it? Fiona Apple's one of my favorite artists, and I feel like a lot of people would agree her album cover art isn't the greatest, but I think that her albums are so good that you should listen to them anyways. So in terms of my thoughts about if cover art matters, if it doesn't, I think it matters to a certain degree. I think number one, it depends for me on how much I like the artist to begin with. If I really like you and I hate the album cover art, I'm still going to listen to the album because you gave me something that I enjoyed in the past. So I'm not going to let it completely deter me from the album, right? But at the same time, I think that it matters to a degree because, like I said, I feel like it is something that's going to be representative of the whole soundscape of the album. Like, just looking at it, I feel like all these are very representative of, you know, the color palettes that I'm associating with these respective albums, and it just makes you want to listen to the album more. And also, it's an entire thing for me about wanting to buy the album, right? You know, I have some of these on vinyl, and they're just gorgeous to look at and everything. I have some vinyls, like, hung up on my wall just because I like the album cover art so much. So you're also incentivizing people to buy the album as well and just have it for years to come. And I think that great album art should just kind of be art on its own. It just adds on top of the experience. It's a cherry on top. Shouldn't be the only good thing about the album, but it just makes the album that much better because it's something that is nice to look at. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments to this. You know, does album art matter to you? Does it not? Does it matter how much you like the artist? Does it not? Are there other things that kind of go all into it and all those things? I kind of also feel like if you skimp on the album cover art, then you're probably going to skimp on the album. But there's albums I've listened to by artists that I like where the album cover isn't necessarily the greatest, but I feel like there's levels of it. There's just absolute trash album covers, and then there's ones that are not the prettiest to look at, but, you know, they're serviceable. So, you know, let's continue that conversation because I thought that this was really interesting.